Good morning and welcome back to the second hour of LoveBabz, LoveTalk. I'm Babz Rawls-Ivy. This morning I'm welcoming my friend JoAnne Wilcox, who is the site manager for the Parent Training Leadership Institute. And PLTI is a transformational experience for parents who see issues in their community and want to build on their knowledge and skills needed so that they can be effective in advocating for change for their children, families, and community. So JoAnne is here today because along with United Way and Workforce Alliance, they're launching a Parent Leadership Training Institute cohort this January for 18 to 24-year-old parents. So if you're interested, this was the show for you today. Good morning, JoAnne. How are you?
Oh, good morning. Good morning. I'm nervous, but I'm good. And I love the
Why are you,
music that led me in. Thank you.
why are you nervous? You know me. We talk all the
I
time.
know, I know. I just like to be in the background.
Okay.
That's what a great thing about it being a site coordinator is I get to do all the things behind the scenes.
Well, tell me about Parent Leadership Training Institute. I've done this program many, many years ago. I was in it. I worked for it. I know the good that it does. I did it in Bridgeport for a few years, and I enjoyed it.
All right,
I
so you
love
tell me
seeing
about Parent Leadership Training Institute.
I love seeing these parents become advocates, the best possible advocates for their kids and their community. And I
Yeah.
love the program. I don't know if you're still requiring folks to have a project to work on,
Yep,
but I always found that quite rewarding, this kind of stuff that people would launch. And I believe it's still standing in Bridgeport, some of these
it is.
programs that these parents launch. How
Yeah,
did you come to PLTI?
my new friend Sandra Carmichael is the coordinator down there. So yes, if you're interested in listening from Bridgeport, there's still a PLTI running there as well. I came to it. It's funny because I am a friend of United Way. I've volunteered for them for a lot of years. I have a friend that works here, and she's like, "You should look at this." But what was interesting is somehow in the back of my email inbox, I found something from 2018. Somebody saying you should look into this. So it's been around for like 30 years. I'm new to it. I wish I had known back when I was trying to carve a way out of no way that it was available to me, because it really feels like it aligns with my values and my path, like my own journey. So I came to it because somebody said, "Hey, you should look at this." But what was cool about it is that's somebody in-house. What was cooler than that is somebody that was on my team in my previous role called me and said, "Hey, there's a position, you should look at this." As I was filling out, building my application and writing my cover letter, somebody, that just knows me well. So it feels like it's aligned with who I am and what I'm about. I want to raise voices of young people. When I say I like to work behind the scenes, it's because elevating voices is a big part of what I've done as a photographer, coordinating for other things. It feels like it's all me all day.
Mm-hmm. So the PL is a free 20-week learning experience in a
Mm-hmm.
cohort of about 18 to 24 people. I do remember that.
Yep.
And they're parents. So
Yes.
you're working with parents, which is really nice. And I know New Haven, over the years, I remember it had one, it didn't have one, it had one, it sort of start, stop, start, stop.
Right. And it's funny because I went back to one of the facilitators and site coordinators from the previous entity, when it was in New Haven before, Merrill Eaton, and nobody was more excited to see it coming back. It's been so much fun. I mean, even you were early in my conversations, Babz, talking about it. I didn't know enough to know its reputation, but literally everybody that I've spoken to about it loves PLTI. The idea that it is coming into a welcoming group of hands is exciting to me as somebody who's trying to build something and to relaunch something that's already been. It's something that everybody that I've spoken to wants to lift up with me. I don't feel alone in this work.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so the first weeks 1 through 10 focus on personal leadership and who you are as a parent leader, and then weeks 11 through 20 focus on government policy and media, which I found invaluable, and I think this is where my expertise came in when I was teaching in the program. Because I had been elected to office. I think I was elected to office at that particular time when I was still doing
Mm-hmm.
this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and they feed you, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to worry about that, right?
Right,
Because you come
right.
after work and you don't got to be like, oh my God, I got to get the kids fed. And what is that going to look like?
Family
You get a
dinner.
stipend for childcare and transportation, which is, I wish more organizations would think about that particular part of it when they do these kinds of works with parents and children.
Yeah,
Um, and then employment resources and training opportunities through the American Job Center. So that's a new component to
right.
the American Job Center. So
Yeah.
so talk about this. What's the recruiting looking like?
So what I'm looking at is how we all know somebody, right? We all know somebody. I'd like somebody looked at you at some point in your life and probably nudged you along as a leader. And I think what's exciting to me is to think about how as a community we're going to come around these young people. 18 to 24 is a challenging enough time. You add parenting on top of that, and you think about the ways that the overwhelm is so clear. What I'm looking at is how the community is going to support these young people saying yes and getting all the barriers out of the way for them to say yes so they can build themselves as leaders from the very beginning of their parenting journey. I think that's a I don't know. It's a beautiful thing to think about how we can do that as a community.
Hmm. And you're looking for relatively young parents.
Very young parents. I mean, I've got an application in for some very young parents, and so the idea that at first that I struggled with that a little bit, but then I got thinking about the ways that these same young voices would be overlooked had they been in a pile with other older people who had been on their journey a little longer. So this focus on this particular young group of people is now the shift that I've made, at least, is thinking about how we get to ignite them. This is the same generation of young people that have grown up under Black Lives Matter, under Parkland movements, under the way that kids are more engaged in science and climate change. These are young people who know all the problems and in the community and at large, and want to be a voice in that change. The idea that we can equip them so early on excites me.
I like that thinking too, because I think if you can get a foundation around leadership, particularly starting with advocacy for your own children, then it just grows because your children will grow up, right? Like they'll grow up, but you'll still have this skill set.
What was your project, Babz?
I can't remember.
Okay.
I was wrestling with this and I was like, what did I work on? And then I
Yeah.
thought, did I work on a book club or I have to go back and look at some old stuff, but I
Yeah.
know I did a project and it was quite meaningful to me. It was a
Yeah.
lot of years ago, JoAnne, a lot of years ago. Like,
I talked
gosh.
to one of my colleagues here at United Way is an alumni, and I asked her about her experience there. And she said that she had people all over the spectrum. Like there was, for her, it was about building relationships with people who wanted their children to grow up with better language skills. So she was a Spanish speaking household, and she wanted to make sure that her kids got early preschool. So she was very interested in that. She also was in a cohort with somebody that had an interest in making sure that their holidays were honored on the school's calendar.
Hmm.
There were people that ran for office. The spectrum of what people get excited about and engaged in is quite wide. And I get excited about, like, for me, I know when it was the change for me came when it was code of conduct. I wanted to see that we didn't push kids out, right? And I know that in my heart that doesn't feel like the right thing to do. And so for me, I'm kind of voracious about talking about restorative practices and how we
Hmm.
might do differently. And so it in my own leadership training, it helped me to build on speaking that truth as early and as often as I can, right? Because that's what matters to me. And giving young people the platform and the ability to navigate some of these systems and know how to make change in these systems, I don't know, it never gets old to me.
I'm with you. And I love the fact that even if folks don't do some outside project that is institutionalized somewhere, that they will become advocates for their children. Because
Absolutely.
I think the education system is probably one of the most oppressive systems to try to maneuver through if you're a parent, advocating for things for your child. I mean, they don't make these processes easy. From my experience, they just don't make them easy. And I think if you're armed with how to sort of, walk into these spaces and say, this is what I need, this is what I want. And I think that bodes well
Yeah.
for training a parent. Otherwise, they sit there and be talked to.
Right. Right. And I even when you say that, I get excited because I feel like, and I'm in the room, right? I'm not a facilitator. I've got 3 great facilitators coming up for this. I'm just a site coordinator, but even in my own lived experience, I have had to do that. And so I feel excited to be able to be a support system to help them to navigate any of those things.
Mm-hmm. So where are y'all housing yourselves? Like, where are you going to be? Site
So
coordinator?
I'm currently sitting in United Way's offices, but our trainings will be our cohort will be meeting at Concat. I'm really excited about that partnership.
The one in
Science Park, 25 Science Park.
Okay.
Yep. So very excited about that. And that just feels like a beautiful, dignified space that reminds you that you're worth investing in. So I love being in that building.
Good. And are they cooking for you too? Like,
I think so that's the conversation we're having, but I think that's the way it's going to go. We provide a meal. So what better partnership than us and the cafe there? And the other thing that's cool about that is these are young people that are still figuring out their path, culinary, phlebotomy, medical billing, all of those options sitting there at the same time as having this other resource of Workforce Alliance saying, well, maybe electrical, maybe, there's other things that you want to get involved in. How can we support you finding that path? I've got a great team at Workforce Alliance, by the way. They're 18 to 24-year-old. Kalaya and Annika are fantastic, and I'm really excited about working with them as well. It's just been like nothing but ding, ding, ding for me to spend time with the way this is being supported. What we're asking for of the community is that same kind of support from everybody listening. Who do you know that might benefit from this? Who do you know? And we can go a little younger. 18 to 24, we can't go older, but we can go a little younger with this particular grant. But if you know young parents that you want to make sure get the tools that they need, that's what we're looking for, is that warm handoff, help them see the leader within themselves.
And there's a lot. I mean, it's a good thing about New Haven that it is very program rich. If you make the right connections with people, like, you talk to Honda Smith and her community up there at the Shack, and and that's upper in the West Rock neighborhood. And you talk to the folks here in Newhallville, and see who's got got young people doing stuff. And I know there's a lot of mothers over here. I know it. I mean, so every neighborhood has a hub of some sort that you could tap into, which is the beauty of this city, right?
I do love it. I do love the city. That's the thing that's been, it's been kind of fun to think about the ways that this could be a real, change for, I don't know. I was at the inauguration the other day, right? A house full of people that care about being involved in New Haven. That's what I'm saying. It's like, well, I just want to fill the seats with all the 18 to 24-year-olds that aren't here yet.
I like it. And I like that you all have thought about all the things that people need to sort of get here, to get there, right?
Yeah.
Like you remove some barriers, because it's the barriers that are preventative for people to get what they need or to participate in things that might benefit them.
Right. That's been a real challenge for us as well. And the thing that I'm really thinking about as far as that goes is, if you see that future leader in this young person, are you willing to volunteer a week watching the kids? Maybe. I don't, we're providing childcare, we're providing food, we're providing transportation, all of those things. But as far as equity goes, to do our best effort, we've got to, make sure they've got somebody that they trust and love watching those babies. And I do think that having them, it's that the thing we didn't cover is that it's Wednesday nights from 5 to 9. I'm hoping that those young people are in bed at that point, that their children are home and cared for, and we don't have to worry about where they are. So I'm really looking at trusted relationships when it comes to the childcare piece too. So we're working out some details behind the scenes on that, but I'm excited to be able to say, that's really a priority. And I've been also thinking about the ways that, to me, that feels like equity too. Like how we do that and do that well means they've got somebody that they trust, and we're doing right by that person as well.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, is this a reboot of the New Haven PLTI? Is this a reboot, or has it been here for a while? Or
It
I'm
No, it's been away for about 7 years, is my
okay.
understanding. And the work that PLTI has done internationally has been, constant. New Haven needs some help getting it to take hold and to stay consistently here. Bridgeport, Stamford, and some others have had it for 25 and 30 years. And what's cool about it is you call those site coordinators and they still light up when you talk to them about it. They're working on something that long and they love what they do.
Mhm.
So to me, that's regenerative work. That's exciting to think about.
Well, I mean, you know what? It might be time for I imagine it is time for PLTI to resurface back into New Haven. I mean, it just
Absolutely.
seems like a natural thing for it to grow some roots and some strength here.
We
Um,
are such a community-minded, group. It feels like if you've got something you care about in this town, there's always somebody you can work on it with. So uh yeah, I think we're ripe for it. I don't know enough about what's happened in the past to keep it from being sustained, but my hope is that we're building cohorts that are more expansive in that age group, that we can make sure that we're inviting people to participate going forward. But we've got to get this one off the ground, and I think really nurturing these young parents is my first job.
so is the United Way relationship a new relationship for PLTI in New Haven?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that seems like a natural partnership too, because
Absolutely.
I mean, I get that
Absolutely.
sense. You get the
Yeah,
United
it
Way and the
really
stuff that they like to do.
aligns with all the offerings they already have. And it's cool to be in a place where that's true, that it matches up with early childhood, food security, homelessness, tutoring, the youth network, all the things I'm a new we at United Way myself, but I kind of look at the ways that this makes sense, and their whole, live united, it is bridging those gaps for the community. So yes.
No, I love it. I love it. And people can get to the website through the United Way.
United
The
Way,
you,
Greater New
you
Haven, uwgnh.org/PLTI. I had to
yes.
write
And
it
so
down to
that
make sure I got all those letters right too.
and so the website, when you go to the website, you can apply, you can look at more information,
Yes.
you can leave a message or get
Yeah.
questions answered.
Yeah. And everything in that website touches back to my email address or my phone number. So if there's any questions, I'm on the other end of it and happy to receive whatever feedback or questions people have about this. I'm very excited about engaging the community to take this on with me. I really do believe this is going to take a lot of hands,
Hmm.
and we have to be the support network to say, you know, I've got you. While you do this, let's invest in you.
And people have until January 12th to apply.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It's a
And
quick
and when does
turnaround.
the program start?
We have an all-day retreat on January 27th. That'll go from 9 to 5, and that will build community and relationships within that group and that cohort. And then from there, it launches every Wednesday from 5 to 9.
Okay, for 20 weeks.
Yeah, and that first hour is dinner, and then the curriculum begins at 6.
Okay. Wow. I mean, this is exciting stuff, JoAnne.
I think
Have
so.
so have people signed up so far? Have you heard from people yet?
I've got some applications coming in, and that feels good. And we've got a civic design team that'll help me do the interviewing after we've got all that lining up. It's a lot of moving parts, but yeah, I've got some applicants coming and I'm looking for more.
And so at the end, do they get a certificate? Like what's the
So
payoff?
they go through a graduation process up at the Capitol. They get a
Oh,
$500
that's right. I
stipend. Yeah.
remember that now. Oh
How was
my
that for you?
God. It was fun.
What was fun about it? Tell me.
You know what? Because I don't think most people go up to the Capitol. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like, so you don't have opportunity to like be in that space for no
yeah,
reason, right?
right.
So, and our Capitol is probably a very pretty looking Capitol with all the,
Yeah,
paint and all that kind of stuff, and the LOB where all the legislators hang out. I mean,
right.
it's an interesting. It was awesome for me because I had never spent that kind of time
Yeah,
in that space. So.
yeah. I graduated from college late in life, so and you know that about me, but having been in school these last few years, I've really grown, and especially during these particular years, right? I've got a lot of ways that it feels like a complicated time to be alive, and I'm more and more interested in standing up for democracy. And that's a big piece of this as well, is just recognizing that it is a people's work, and civic engagement has become real important to me. So I look forward to the ways that these folks will get involved in things because they care about them. So yeah, this,
Okay. So they graduate, they do it up at the Capitol. They get a stipend at the end
yep,
of some, yeah, and a
have,
certificate, I'm sure.
yep, yep,
And then those people are the gateways to other people coming in and doing. See, then you start it all over
right,
again. Or
right.
how many times a year do you think you want to run this?
We'll be writing a second cohort later in the year. And then the other thing that I was going to say about that is there's an alumni network that's pretty expansive by this time. That they've been going, like I said, in Connecticut for 30 years. So
Yes,
there's,
it would be extensive at this point.
yeah, I've talked to a lot of people that I didn't know were alum before, you included, like, just in casual conversation, talking about my new job. And it's interesting how many people I've bumped into that I know who are in leadership positions in their roles and whatever their workplace is, and they are PLTI alum. So it does feel like it's an investment you make. Seems to me the people that I have met who are graduates have seen the success of being that leader.
My good friend Ron Thomas sits on the national board,
Oh,
and
fantastic.
and he was the one that engaged me to become part of PLTI, 15, 20 years ago,
Yeah.
when I did it. And it really was such a good experience and a very heartwarming experience. Because I think, JoAnne, I don't think people sort of spend enough time talking to the power of young parents and
Right.
their ability to, like, be on the ground and do community work, civic work.
So I keep thinking the other piece of that too is this is kind of the opposite of COVID, right? That building those relationships so they can hear their own voices and recognize that they do have a leader inside of them is yeah, that feels like an important and integral part of the growing into yourself. But we've had a gap there for those young people, right? These are it feels like to me we've got to do some real intentional work on the other side of COVID that says, okay, let's see what we can do to reinforce what you're going to need in particular.
Yes. I think that's a good way to look at that. It's time we start looking at things that way.
Right? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell me about your team. How big is the team?
I have a fantastic group of people. So I'm looking at Janine McMahon, Jaquise Patterson, who's an alum from New Haven, who's being brought up into a facilitator position, and Nessie Rodriguez. And so Nessie's the second phase, and Janine and Jaquise will be doing the first. Um, Melvette Hill, who's at the state level, who supports me in the background, making sure that I, have all this figured out. It's a lot of moving parts to put all this together, as you might imagine. Allie Fox is my I don't know, queen of all things at United Way, as far as I'm concerned. She's been really helpful in getting me established here, and what I love is feeling trusted to do some really great work and figuring this out. Look at me, I'm sitting here by myself going it makes me feel very happy to be so trusted in this role. There's a whole bunch of people over at Workforce Alliance that'll be also working to support, the young people on the other end of this if they want to, help find that path, like I said. And I don't know if you know this, but they're moving into the space right across the hall from us. So we will
Oh, are
be,
they?
yeah,
Now
yeah.
y'all are, where are y'all in Fairhaven, aren't you?
We're at 370 James Street.
Yep, Fairhaven.
And yep, Fairhaven, and they will be right across the hall very short. It's been a long time coming, but very shortly. So they'll be moving into
So
our
they left the
building.
boulevard? They're
They,
leaving the boulevard?
yeah.
Okay. Oh, good. I always thought that place was just, dreary.
Wait till you
Uh,
see the new spot. It's
I
beautiful.
can imagine. Now I gotta find a reason to come over there. Like
Well,
I
come
gotta,
visit me. You can always come see me.
I will. I'm gonna come snoop. Come over here and see what's happening over here at James Street.
Yeah.
What's
No,
happening?
that new spot's great. That new spot is great.
I this is a wonderful partnership, I think.
Oh yeah.
You yeah.
Yeah. I want to just shout out to my friend Annika, who's over there at Workforce Alliance. She's the boots to the ground 18 to 24-year-old support system for those for this group. And she used the word fortress, that these young people are building a fortress around themselves. And I just
Mm,
thought, wow, that's a beautiful image, right? That they'll come out of this having not just been, leaders, they'll know where to go. They'll know how to support each other. I love that word.
I love that, the first 10 weeks are about personal leadership,
Yeah.
right? Like to tap into those skills. Because when you ask people if they think they're a leader, most people say no, right? Like most people, they just don't claim they're the part of the
Yeah.
leadership that they are.
Yeah. Agreed. And I think about you and others. There have been so many people along the way for me, even as a, middle-aged white lady. I've had a lot of people that help me to understand that I do have a role in leadership in this community, and I don't take it for granted that that I needed that support, right? That I needed people along the way to point me in the right direction and to shore me up and to help me to feel like I had it in me to speak my truth.
Mhm. Well, see, that's good because you're just the right example of what PLTI is gonna do with this new cohort. Like it's almost as if you're mirroring to them what the journey will be like. Like, your
And that
own
it's not
values.
linear.
Right, right. But that's a good example because I think, if you don't see there are other
Mhm.
ways to get somewhere, you
Yeah.
just feel like you can't do it.
Well, and look at me, I'm happy, right? I mean, the thing is, people will say to me all the time when I say I graduated college at almost 50, they're saying things like, "Oh, it's okay." Well, that's not the way I see it at all. It's perfect. I'm right in line. I am happy. I made my choices, right? And it's we have a tendency in our culture, and I would imagine, especially in a Yale community, where you might think that you're a loser if you're not, doing XYZ at a certain time. And it's like, you know what?
I'm not
Look at me.
splitting atoms or something.
Right? I don't know. I didn't solve the equation. That's not the way it works. And I feel like that's been a real lift for me to sort out in my own life. But to be able to, like I said, reinforce that early on for folks feels good. And I do love young people and have a few of my own. So I spend a lot of time, supporting and reinforcing young people. And so I don't know, I can't say enough about how happy I am to be doing this work.
Well, if there are people out there listening and people who are listening who know people who would benefit greatly from this program, just go to the uwgnh.org/PLTI website and pass that along to some young folks, 18 to 24-year-old parents who would benefit greatly from this kind of cohort. 20 weeks, stipend, childcare, dinner, all the things, so that we can grow our own leadership amongst us.
And I'd say even more than that, put that website in front of them and say, "Hey, let me walk you through this application. I think you should do this."
I love it.
Like,
I
like
love it.
shore yourself up, show up for them.
I love
Like we are the leaders we've been waiting for is a big piece of the way that I've been living these last few years. And I just keep thinking, you know what? Let's just grow more then.
it. I love it. So before I let you go, I got to ask you about Pechacucha.
Oh, yes. I love me some Pechacucha.
I got to spend a
So,
few minutes on Pechacucha. Give it to me.
all right, I haven't set a date for the next one yet, but if you don't know what Pechacucha is, it's Pechakucha, newhaven.org. Pechakuchanewhaven.org. 20 slides rolling automatically, 20 seconds at a time to tell any story you want. And Babz has done a couple of them for us. My husband and I host it, and it's a great night out. The last couple we have done have been, it just seems like every time I do it, it's better than the last. I don't know. There's something about the way that this lifts up voices. And again, I kind of feel like this is my favorite thing is that I get to lift up the voices of other people. All I'm doing is setting the stage and you come and speak your truth. So I'm
I love
always
it.
looking for more stories. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to say something about it, because it is important to me that New Haven tells its own story, right? We've got to sit 6 minutes and 40 seconds attentive to whatever that is. And if you don't like it, somebody else will come up. It's fantastic. It's a great way to share stories.
I love it. I mean, I've done it twice and I hosted once.
Yes,
And
you did.
feel free to call me back to host because I love doing that. I
Between
know
you
I'm
and
not trying to take your job, man. I'm not trying to take your job.
Between you and the big bearded dude, you guys will have to wrestle that out.
But I figure since he's got a lot of work to do, he might be on a business trip or some old place. And you might need another stand-in. So I'm just saying I make myself available.
Thank you. We loved having you. And you remember that night was all women presenters, which was
It
so
was.
fantastic. That was so much fun. You led it and it was all women. I felt so energized that night.
I loved it. I loved everything about it. So I'm looking forward. I'm keeping my ears peeled to my email, see whatever you do next. So
There will be a call for presenters coming out soon. I gotta figure out my new job first, and then I can only spin so many plates at a time, my love.
I understand. I understand. As someone who keeps a lot of plates in the air, I understand. So, well,
how's the law
JoAnne,
school application coming?
oh girl, we in the thick of it. We in the thick of it. We'll see what happens.
Cheering you on, cheering you on.
Just pray. I need all the prayers I can get. All of them. So thank you for joining me this morning, JoAnne Wilcox. We had a good time, right?
Yes, we did. Thank you so much for being such a lovely host and for always teaching me love. It makes me happy.
Yes. Well, we'll be in touch. I'll see you out here in these streets in a little bit.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Have a great afternoon. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you, Harry, for the makeup job.
Ooh, thank you, JoAnne. All right, Harry, play us out. We are on our way out. Tomorrow's Friday. I'll be back, and y'all make it a great day. And go do your grocery shopping because we got plowable snow coming.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!